of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, has signed a bipartisan bill, and bipartisan is an important part of this, that makes it a felony to trespass on property operated by oil or gas pipelines. Okay, so there has been an assault on pipeline protesters, especially since the Dakota Access Pipeline protests took place. But this is part of an ongoing trend of states cracking down on pipeline protesters, with some officials classifying them as domestic terrorists.
Did you say the Democratic governor of Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a bipartisan bill, by the way, in the state of Wisconsin.
And notice that it's not, hey, all trespassing is bad. It's no, if you, and now even accidentally go on the property specifically of energy companies. How dare you? Energy companies own all the politicians. So why do you know that 76% of Americans believe in climate change? So climate change is an existential threat to the planet. If 3/4 of the country believes that it is, why aren't we doing anything? Because of politicians like this. Bought lock, stock, and barrel with all the bribes from the oil companies. And the oil companies say, I want extra rules. I want anyone.
Extra protections.
Yes, extra rights. I want all the human rights that you all enjoy, and I want rights on top of that.
It reminds me a lot of the ag-gag laws that were passed,
That's right.
where the activists and the protesters in regard to the factory farms were silenced. Like, they literally could not do reporting, they couldn't do the protests when it came to the cruel treatment and abuse of these animals in factory farms. So yeah, I mean, this is what local governments do. And this is the kind of stuff that really does violate First Amendment rights. But I'm sure I won't see Ben Shapiro or any of those people complaining about this. Let me give you more details. And look, the reason why this is such an issue is because, remember, a lot of these pipelines run through Native American territory, right? So if Native Americans are protesting this in their own territory, does that mean that they're now criminalized?
Of course it does.
It's disgusting. So let me give you more details on this now law in Wisconsin. The new law builds upon a 2015 state law that made it a felony to intentionally trespass or cause damage to the property of an energy provider. The bill Evers signed expands the definition of energy provider to include oil and gas pipelines, renewable fuel, and chemical and water infrastructure. Those found guilty could face up to $10,000 in fines and 6 years in prison. Now, at least 8 other states have similar laws on the books. So there's Wisconsin, which we're talking about right now, and then there's Ohio and Pennsylvania, which are considering similar proposals. So
if you're wondering, hey, wait, isn't damage to property and trespassing already illegal? Yes, it is already illegal. What this does is it escalates the penalties if you do it against oil companies. So like, oh, you want to trespass on Bob's property? Okay, I mean, don't do it, but it's not that big a deal. Against a beloved oil company that bribed all of the politicians in Wisconsin? No, there'll be extra penalties for that. And on top of that, if you didn't even realize you were protesting on private property, which could easily happen, right? Well, now you're going to prison. But wait, I didn't even know that was private. I don't care, it doesn't matter, because we made the laws now harsher than they are for anyone else, because the people that enjoy the most protection in this country are corporations. They're not at all people.
Exactly. And understand what the protesters are protesting about, right? So yes, climate change is an issue, but it's actually a lot more imminent and serious for these protesters, because this is about pipelines that run through rivers, for instance, and the rivers will erode the pipeline, and then you have these leaks. And then their drinking water, or the water that they rely and depend on, is destroyed, right? Contaminated with oil. So it's a very legitimate concern. And now you have a local government that's basically saying, oh, you're concerned about your drinking water, so you're protesting? No, we're gonna criminalize that behavior. We're gonna find these tricky little ways to make you the bad guy in this scenario.
By the way, we just had a huge leak, just like we told you we would. Of course it's gonna leak. So last 2 things.
Can I just give you a number on the leak, because that's relevant to this story? So the Keystone XL pipeline has already leaked 383,000 gallons of tar sands into the wetlands.
two more things about this. Law enforcement, The Guardian found a document where they warn that we have to stop the protesters, quote, by any means necessary. Now, when Malcolm X said that, they were like, oh my God, this dangerous black nationalist threatening everybody. What do you mean by any means necessary? Now, when law enforcement says we must protect our cherished, beloved corporations by any means necessary, of course, our corrupt politicians are like, bravo! Of course, that's the patriotic thing to do. Protect corporations by any means necessary. One final thing, one of the other things that they are passing are what is called civil disorder statutes. So that is a threat to actual speech as well. So they are clamping down on protests of real human beings in this country to protect corporations that have bought off all of our politicians. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.